What's going on, everyone? So yesterday, the Los Angeles Lakers made the move and fired Darvin Ham. It was something that was rumored to be coming this week. Jovan Buha even talked about it. It was something that absolutely needed to be done. Darvin Ham just lost the players in the locker room. He wasn't a very good coach to begin with. He just showed that he wasn't capable of coaching at this level, at least for now. He had some good qualities. He had some good moments, right? There were stretches. I mean, even in this Denver series, there was a couple games where it was like, oh, hey, man, he did a pretty good job. But he needs to get through his hiccups. He needs to kind of learn how to properly, make the adjustments and lineup rotation and how to manage the game better. And look, maybe it comes, right? I never want to see somebody fail, right? So I'm rooting for his success. I hope, maybe he could go to a team like a Charlotte Hornets or something, a young team that can kind of weather him through his hiccups, that isn't looking to contend and compete right now, right? And he can maybe 2-3 years down the line actually develop into one of the premier coaches. Again, you never really know. But from the Lakers standpoint, it just didn't make sense to keep him around. Lakers, they're not a young team, right? For the most part, right? You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You're a win now team. You're not in a position to have Darvin Ham right out his tenure and hope that maybe he figures it out and comes around, right? If we were some young team that was on the horizon, that was just happy to get into the playoffs, and we're still looking at it as like, hey, we're still 2-3 years down the road before we actually are ready to be in contention, then fine. Let Darvin Ham stick around, ride out his contract, and see what happens, right? But we're not that team. We're a team that needs to win now. LeBron's only getting older, right? He's only getting closer to retirement. How much longer can he stay playing in a top 5 player level, right? Like it's the things like that. Anthony Davis, right? I mean, LeBron James and Anthony Davis just had the healthiest season that they've had since the bubble. And we were a first round exit. We lost in 5 games. Right? And look, it's not all on Darvin Ham. The players have to show up too. And, there's definitely this piece of the pie, and there's multiple pieces and multiple people that are accountable for that. But Darvin Ham was a big factor and a big reason for the Lakers' failures this year, and just continued time and time again. And look, I was very defensive of him early on, right? But as it progressed, it just became more and more apparent. Like, okay, he doesn't get it, right? And the hope was, again, because I never want to root for somebody's failure. Right? Because if he's bad, the Lakers are going to be bad. Guess what? He was bad and the Lakers were bad. Right? So now you need to move in a different direction. But here's the thing. Tyron Lue is very likely out. He is the premier perfect replacement. Like, that was the hope. That was the goal. Right? Clippers were just eliminated by the Dallas Mavericks. And the hope was that he would be on his way out, that the Clippers would end up making a change. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Based on reports, Clippers plan on running it back. Right? Steve Ballmer's got the shiny new stadium. He's got this new arena. And he wants to keep the head coach. He wants to keep the star power. I mean, keeping Tyron Lue, I get. Like, it was always a long shot. But there was hope that, like, hey, maybe they do let him go. But, he's a top 5 coach maybe in this league. Right? So even if you were to, tear it down and you're the Clippers, you'd still want to kind of keep him long-term and keep him around, right? And look, Steve Ballmer, he's got the deepest pockets in the league. I mean, that's one of the reasons Ty went to the Clippers, right? Lakers were trying to lowball him. I mean, they were trying to pay him less than he was making with the Cavs, which you got to keep in mind, the Lakers aren't a very rich ownership. The Lakers don't have a bunch of money compared to some of these other owners, right? So it's just like, if you're the Lakers, are you really? I just don't see them putting out an offer enough to compete where he can. I mean, the Clippers offered him 2 or 3 times what the Lakers offered him, right? Because Steve Ballmer doesn't care. It's just he's playing with monopoly money at this point, right? He just wants to win. So him being out puts the Lakers in a tough spot, because if he were to become available, then it's an easy answer. You just go get Tyron Lue. But since Tyron Lue isn't going to be available, this is where the dilemma lies. This is where it's like, okay, well, who's out there that the Lakers can get that makes sense? Because the Lakers can't get this one wrong. They can't. You got to get this one right. Right? Like, the Lakers have gone through 4 coaches, something like that, since LeBron's been here. if we're serious about winning, you have to get this coach right. And the issue is that, like, there's not a lot of great options out there right now. There's not a lot of options where you look at and you go, man, that's the guy. Right? It's like you're hoping that maybe one of these guys comes through. Like, I've seen a lot of people throw out like Mike Budenholzer. He's like an adult version of Darvin Ham, right? A lot of the reasons that Darvin Ham got fired is why Mike Budenholzer got fired. You know, lack of adjustments, questionable lineup rotation, not properly utilizing players at times, not properly utilizing your timeouts. Where do you think Darvin Ham gets the, hey, we don't use timeouts from? Mike Budenholzer, right? It literally got fired from that. They literally lost a playoff series because he refused to call a timeout and watched, I think it was like a 15-point lead dwindle away, and then they end up losing the series, and he immediately gets fired. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, do we really want to go through the Darvin Ham thing again? I think you hire Mike Budenholzer, and I think midway through the season, we're all just like, we shouldn't have hired Mike Budenholzer. But then outside of that, it's like, you know, who else is really out there that makes a world of sense for the Lakers? You know, somebody like Kenny Atkins, he's an analytic guy, but he has a lot of concerns and issues, and part of the reason Frank Vogel got fired, right, is his lack of, willingness to be aggressive, I guess, right, for lack of a better term, right? Like somebody that's willing to hold players accountable and not just kind of get walked all over. Right? We saw the issues that he had, and it's just, it's one of those things where it's like, do you just kind of go with the best option available with the best resume, and you hope it works out, and you just kind of ride it out through LeBron and Anthony Davis's tenure, right? And then you go look for that young head coach while you're trying to, hit the rebuild button. But here's the thing too in that regard, right? Because if the Lakers do indeed land Trae Young, which I honestly think is probably going to happen, then, it would be nice to have a head coach that could kind of continue through his tenure. And, I don't want to see the Lakers keep going through this coaching carousel, is my point. Right? I want to see the Lakers find a coach that it's like, okay, like we could see this guy sticking around for the next 10 years, at least, if not longer. Right? And the more that I think about it, the more that I kind of go through these coaches, the more that I kind of, analyze it, the more I kind of lean towards just take a shot with JJ Redick, right? Because like I'm not super like if it's the field right now or JJ Redick, I kind of feel like JJ Redick might be the best choice, right? He's got the mind, he's got the basketball, chutzpah, right? Like he's not afraid to speak out. He's not. He's going to be more than willing to challenge the guys. That he's a guy that is very well respected. Right? He's got the understanding of the analytics and the game and stuff. Like, he is definitely a basketball mind. And I think he, on the surface, looks like a guy that could be one of the premier head coaches in this league. The real question is, can he properly do because there's a lot more to coaching than just understanding the game and calling plays, right? Like, is he going to be able to and I don't worry about him necessarily handling the media and stuff, but it is part of it, right? All the things that go on behind the scenes, dealing with, egos and agents and, front offices and, dealing with, players complaining and wanting more playing time and, trying to flush out rotations. And it's just, there's so much that goes into it, right? And then properly managing the game, right? Is he a guy that is going to have his hiccups in year one? Now, there are guys that have had excellent, year one, right? Tyron Lue being one, Ime Udoka, right? Like, even Steve Kerr, right? Like, although, Steve Kerr came from Pop's tree, but still, like, the point being that, like, it is very possible that JJ Redick is perfect year one, right? Like, he might have his hiccups, but not enough to be detrimental, right? And I do think he's a guy that could properly utilize guys and kind of get the most out of guys and whatnot. But, it's definitely a risk. But again, it's like, who else? I just don't really necessarily like any of the other options. And I just don't think the Lakers can afford to take it, to sign a Mike Budenholzer and then, thinking it's the safe route, because that would probably be the safest route, or a Kenny Atkins or something like that, right? And those are the safe routes. You do that, and then midway through the season, we're like, right? At least with JJ Redick, it's like, okay, right? Like, I don't think he's gonna be as bad as Darvin Ham was. But even if he does kind of have his little hiccups, I think he'll be good. He'll also have LeBron James in his corner, and LeBron kind of helping him. And, and I don't think that, like you saw with Darvin Ham, right? Darvin Ham would call a play and LeBron would just kind of overturn it, right? Like, no, we're going to do this, right? I don't think that JJ Redick would have that issue. I think it'd be more of like a partnership than it would be anything else, which I think would be beneficial for him. I just think, like, it would be a LeBron guy. Also, if it works out, now you got your head coach for the next 20 years. All right. So, I don't know. I like the idea, and I'm liking it more and more of just getting JJ Redick. And I think that that's probably the best approach. But look, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, they're going to have their work cut out for them this offseason. You got to get a coach sooner rather than later, because you want that coach to come in, get his coaching staff lined up and worked out, and then start getting the pieces and the players that you need, and having the head coach work into that, right? Like, okay, what do you think about this guy as opposed to this guy? Which guy do you like most? Like, we may be able to get this guy. Do you like him? What do you think? Like, hey, we got this draft pick. What do you think of this guy as opposed to this guy, right? Like, you want your head coach part of the building process of the roster, right? Because it's going to be his guys that he's going to have to manage and run. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.